Hello and welcome everyone to the inaugural 2026 virtual programs. We're very happy to welcome you all to our inaugural program for this year. We do also offer in-person programs. We are going to be having those in multiple locations. You can check our website, but I am going to read off our prospective locations. We are planning on going to Cleveland, Ohio, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Phoenix, Arizona, St. Louis, Missouri, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Schaumburg, Illinois, Nashua, New Hampshire, and Asheville, North Carolina. So if you live in the surrounding areas and would like to attend our in-person programs, please check our website, macularhope.org, to find how you can attend those programs free of charge. Now, these programs would not be possible without generous support from our sponsors, those being Regeneron, Apellis, Ocular Therapeutics, MacuHealth, and Notel Vision. We greatly appreciate their support and hope that you can get some more information on them in the future. Today we have a talk by Dr. Poteet, but before we get into that, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. We have a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. After the program is completed, Dr. Poteet is going to answer all of your questions. So if during the program you have a question, go ahead and enter it into the Q&A box as it comes into your thoughts, and they will be sitting there waiting for her at the end. So she will be able to answer those questions in succession. Now, it is very important that you use the Q&A box. We will not be taking any raised hand questions, and we are not going to have any audio from our attendees. So please put your question into the Q&A box so that we can get all of your questions answered in a timely manner. Otherwise, we want to again welcome you and remind you that if you do get any value out of today's program, the Macular Degeneration Association is a 501c3 registered nonprofit, and we are completely supported by donations from people just like you. So if you find some value in the information we provide, we'd greatly appreciate it if you'd visit our website and give a donation to help support the work that we do. Otherwise, I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Poteet. She's graduated from the New England College of Optometry, and then completed a residency in primary care and ocular disease at the VA Medical System in Boston. At the VA, she then completed a Master's of Science in Human Nutrition and Functional Medicine. After earning her master's degree, she then completed the requirements to become a certified nutrition specialist in 2015. Dr. Poteet, we are now turn our attention to you to learn the secrets of better eye health through nutrition, part 1. Dr. Poteet, you have our attention.
Thanks, Dustin. With me. I am so honored to be here and speak for the Macular Degeneration Association, a wonderful group that really supports patients and their families in the fight against the leading cause of irreversible vision loss after 50, and that is macular degeneration. Just a little housekeeping, educational, and medical disclaimers. The information presented in this lecture is intended for educational and informational purposes only and not suitable for personalized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The views and opinions expressed are those of the presenter and are based on current scientific literature and clinical experience. At the time of presentation, attendees should consult their personal physician, optometrist, ophthalmologist, or other qualified healthcare professional before making any changes. My goal today is to empower you with evidence-based information so you can have more informed conversations with your healthcare team. So, public health was defined by Winslow in 1920 at Yale as the art of preventing diseases, not just curing them, through lifestyle, food, hygiene, and environmental health. So, more than 100 years, we have been talking about prevention of disease and modification of disease through lifestyle. My whole lecture today is going to center around something called upstream care. And what I mean by that, most or a lot of healthcare is downstream care. Um, we've become really good at pulling patients out of the water once they fall in. My goal as a healthcare practitioner and someone who practices food as medicine is to walk upstream and find out why they're falling in the first place. The earlier we intervene in any disease, the greater the trajectory we can influence. Um, just a disclosure about this lecture, I thought I had about an hour and a half. It turns out I have much less time than that. So we are making this a two-parter. Part 1 today is just going to introduce some concepts about retinal resilience and how to promote eye and brain health. And the second lecture is going to focus on targeted supplementation, what the science says. I know there's been a lot of questions to the Macular Degeneration Association about some new things that have come into the pipeline. So this is hot off the press. This was published in the British Journal of Ophthalmology, and this is the why behind this lecture: healthy lifestyle linked to better retinal health. So lifestyle drives the health of the ocular system in aging. This newly published research shows that a healthy lifestyle is linked to better retinal health. Higher healthy lifestyle scores are associated with lower risk of age-related macular degeneration and retinal vascular occlusion. And I will say the eye, the retina part of the brain, anything we do that's healthy for the retina, that supports the retina, is going to be supporting the brain. I want to introduce a concept called inflammaging. Inflammaging is the slow, chronic, low-grade inflammation that develops as we age and quietly stresses the body over time. It is acute inflammation, which is so important, but it's when acute inflammation becomes dysregulated and chronic, which is a factor that affects aging. It's like a smoldering fire in the background that can gradually damage tissues, including the retina and the brain. And it increases the risk of diseases like macular degeneration. Chronic low-grade inflammation is strongly implicated in macular degeneration, in Alzheimer's disease, and type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease, sarcopenia, and in metabolic syndrome. Food as medicine is a powerful way to mitigate the course of inflammaging. So I just got back from ARVO, which is the Association for Research in Vision and Ophthalmology. It is the research arm and conference for ophthalmology, and I learned so much. I actually presented a study on a poster. It was on ocular surface disease, dry eye disease. But I went to some lectures on macular degeneration and a buzz all around. What was a lot of talk surrounding the gut microbiome. And we're going to dig deep into the gut microbiome, but I also want to introduce something else that's deeply tied into the health of the gut microbiome and that is the mitochondria. And those of you who've had some science courses over the years know that the mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cells. But there's so much more than that. Mitochondria are responsible for cellular resiliency. Mitochondrial dysfunction is increasingly recognized as a common thread underlying many chronic inflammatory diseases, promoting excessive oxidative stress and loss of cellular resilience. And again, macular degeneration is a disease of excessive oxidative stress. One of the most powerful ways we can support both the microbiome and mitochondria is with what we put at the ends of our forks. This slide is busy. Um, I'm not expecting you to read everything on this slide. I just want to highlight some things. In the functional medicine realm and in nutrition space, I've been fascinated with the gut microbiome for more than 20 years. I got involved in this arena because of a child that was sick, who's now fine. But I've been involved in this arena for a very long time, and I've watched the evolution of it being kind of a fringe concept to now being so central in what we talk about when we talk about diseases of chronic inflammation. 70% of our immune system cells lives in our guts. The gut microbiome determines whether we have a healthy immune response or a dysregulated immune response. And the beautiful thing about food is that one of the greatest and most powerful ways we have to support the microbiome is by what we eat. Most good bacteria are vegetarians. They love plants. So I'm going to be talking about eating the rainbow. I'm going to be adding and not subtracting. Subtracting, telling you not to eat something, that's no fun. So we're going to actually sing the praises of the beautiful plants that are in our diets, and we're going to talk about how to get those more of those into our diets. And when we do, the good bacteria in our guts kind of do the happy dance, and they start making the immune system a little more like we want it to. And this is another busy slide, but the mitochondria, again, the power plants of our cells and so much more. And this is important in AMD or macular degeneration because reports from human donors with macular degeneration should suggest that mitochondrial defects are a key element in macular degeneration pathology. And food is a powerful way to feed and enrich the mitochondria and help them function better. And this slide is extremely busy. But all I want to tell you from this slide is that gut health and mitochondrial health are intimately connected and both influenced by our diets. A Mediterranean style diet with an abundance of beautiful fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, fatty fish promote a healthy gut and healthy mitochondria. A standard American diet with tons of processed foods, high fat, high salt, ultra processed, create bad bacteria and damage our mitochondria. So why does all this matter? Macular degeneration is the leading cause of irreversible vision loss after 50. It impacts independence and quality of life. In nutrition is modifiable and has been shown to support retinal health and resiliency. The earlier we intervene, the more disease trajectory can be influenced. It's never too late to start. As a practitioner, I have patients that come in to see me with macular degeneration who can't drive anymore. So their sons or their daughters or their daughter-in-laws come and bring them in to see me. And I don't just talk to the patient, I talk to the family members. Again, because the earlier we intervene, before the disease even starts. The earlier we start talking about what kind of ways we can or things we can do in our life to support our retina and our brain, um, the better the outcome. Macular degeneration is one of the most common ocular diseases in the US. It affects approximately 17% of US individuals over 40, compared to only 3% of glaucoma. It accounts for roughly 15 to 20% of global blindness. And it is estimated that 25% of macular degeneration cases are undiagnosed. There was a study that looked at diagnosing macular degeneration. This was published recently in the past few years. Um, and what it found was that both optometry and ophthalmology alike, equally so, miss a diagnosis of macular degeneration about 25% of the time. So I urge you, if you are concerned about macular degeneration, if you have a family member that had macular degeneration, ask your eye doctor. Hey, doc, do I have any signs of macular degeneration? Do I have drusen? Do I have any changes in the back of my eye? What can I do now to support the health of my retina before disease starts? Is there anything I can do? Ask. Just ask them. Macular degeneration can progress to permanent central vision loss. And I'm going to spend a few minutes on this slide. Macular degeneration, as an eye care practitioner, when we look in the retina, when we look in the back of the eye, and we see drusen, drusen are waste products that build up in the retina. And when we see drusen, we that lets us know, okay, this patient is at risk or has macular degeneration. And that's what it's characterized by the accumulation of drusen that leads to progressive degeneration of photoreceptors. It's a multifactorial disease. Um, as a clinician, by the time I see drusen in the retina, I know that that is a process that's been going on a long time before that. Um, Loss of cellular resiliency is often what precedes it biologically. And that's where food and lifestyle come in because we can support the cells of the retina, the cells of the brain. Oxidative stress is not the beginning of the story. Mitochondrial dysfunction often sits upstream of it. The goal is not simply to react to damage downstream, but to support retinal resilience upstream before irreversible degeneration occurs. So when I see drusen, I think of them as biomarkers of retinal metabolic distress rather than the sole cause of disease. And this is upstream thinking. If we wait until advanced structural damage occurs, we're intervening late in the disease process. Um, Healthy aging of the retina begins long before vision loss develops. Nutrition, vascular health, inflammation, oxidative stress, and mitochondrial function all interact years before patients notice symptoms. And the earlier we intervene, again, the more of the disease trajectory remains biologically modifiable. And this is where lifestyle and nutrition become so incredibly powerful. They influence many of the upstream mechanisms that drive retinal aging. My mentor, Dr. Stuart Richer, said in one of his lectures one time, and this has stuck with me and I use it a lot. Sometimes we have to think about repairing the roof before it starts raining. And it's true. Thinking about, okay, how do I create health and within the retina, within the brain? Um, we can't change genetics or aging, but we can influence the environment in which retinal cells are trying to survive. And nutrition is I'm going to dare say, it is the most powerful tool we have. So macular degeneration, again, it's increasingly recognized as a systemic disease, not just a local ocular condition. The eyes are part of the brain. The substances that make up drusen in the retina are composed of similar substances that make up the beta amyloid plaques in Alzheimer's. A lot of people call macular degeneration Alzheimer's of the eye. And again, anything we're doing that's healthy for the retina is healthy for the brain. Emerging data point to diet and the gut microbiome as key modulators of disease course. So what is the microbiome? You hear so much so much pop. I call it pops. So much in the scientific community or in advertising. Eat this for your microbiome. Eat that. And we're going to talk. I could talk all day. Actually, lecture all day about the gut microbiome. No longer are we considered simply human. Microbiome research has shown us that we are holobionts, organisms that function as an assemblage of multiple species that are mutually beneficial. There are roughly 39 trillion bacteria in our bodies, roughly matching the number of our own 37 trillion cells. Microbiome diversity is a hallmark of health. The diversity of the diet dictates the diversity of the microbiome. And again, I'm just going to keep talking about the Mediterranean diet, eating the rainbow, which means eating an abundance of colorful fruits and vegetables, good bacteria. Most of them are vegetarians and they love plant food. So, Dr. Leo Gallen is one of my healthcare heroes. He is a brilliant immunologist I have been following for more than 20 years. And he wrote this article in the Journal of Medicinal Foods, Gut Microbiome and Brain. And I think this succinctly sums it up. The gut microbiome orchestrates human metabolism, immunity, and gene expression. The 100 trillion bacteria in the body of an adult human contain about 4 million distinct bacterial genes, with more than 95% of them located in the large intestine. Since most of these genes encode for enzymes and structural proteins that influence the functioning of mammalian cells, the gut microbiome can be viewed as an anaerobic bioreactor programmed to synthesize molecules which direct the mammalian immune system, modify the mammalian epigenome, and regulate host metabolism. And this is important. The gut microbiome directs the immune system. Human gastrointestinal microflora contain about 10 to the 14 viable organisms. That's 10 times the number of cells in the human body from over 1,000 different species. It rivals the liver in the number of biochemical reactions with which it participates. A Mediterranean diet feeds the microbiome and fuels the mitochondria. So Mediterranean diets have been shown to promote a eubiotic microbiome, and that's a microbiome that's happy and healthy, protective and potentially restorative effects. A Western diet, high fat, high sugar, promotes a dysbiotic microbiome, which is bacteria in our guts and microorganisms that are just not happy, and they make us unhappy. Worsened in studies, it's been shown to worsen wet macular degeneration and inflammation. And the microbiome influences macular degeneration relevant pathways, even at baseline. So what do we do? What do we do now? We have this information. How do we make our gut microbes happy so that they'll make our mitochondria happy? Um, a Mediterranean diet. Listen, this may sound complicated at first, but I'm going to put a slide at the end that's going to make it so incredibly simple. I'm going to add, I don't like subtracting. Subtracting is not fun. I'm going to add things. I think food is medicine, food is love. A Mediterranean style diet rich in all the beautiful colors and produce creates harmony. It feeds good bacteria and makes us happy. Diets rich in ultra processed food feed bad bacteria and make us unhappy. I know groceries are extremely expensive. There was a study I read the other day that looked at the polyphenol and nutrient count of frozen versus fresh vegetables. And guess what? Frozen is just as good. Buy your vegetables when they're frozen on sale. Keep them in their freezer. Again, the more colorful fruits and vegetables, the better. The average American consumes only about 15 grams of fiber a day, which is well below the 25 to 38 grams recommended by the USDA. Our ancient ancestors consumed between 100 to 150 grams of fiber a day. Dr. Eric Alm at MIT found that adding just 10 more grams of dietary fiber per day led to 11% more diversity in our microbiomes. So I tell patients, I don't simply change your diet to change your nutrients. I change your diet to change the microbes. And we want to eat for our microbiomes and our mitochondria. Most good bacteria are vegetarians. So eating for a healthy microbiome, increased consumption of plant foods, Fermented foods are your friends. Fermented foods are better and better at boosting a healthy microbiome than taking a bunch of probiotic pills. So fermented vegetables, kombucha, sauerkraut, kimchi, yogurt. Cut the processed foods out if you can. Avoid unhealthy fats, sugars, artificial sweeteners are horrible. They are horrible. They're toxic to our microbiomes. Throw the artificial sweeteners out. They're not your friends. Additives and preservatives feed an unhealthy microbiome. Microbiome superfoods. And this is stuff I want you to think about adding in carrots. Carrots are such a great microbiome superfood. Asparagus, garlic, and so on. I'm going from a low-fat plant polysaccharide-rich diet to a high-fat, high-sugar Western diet. Change the microbiota in 1 day in germ-free mice. 1 day. So we can change our microbiome quickly. It just takes, in some studies, 72 hours, in some studies, 2 weeks. And this is a busy slide. And so I'm not going to read everything on this slide. I just wanted to kind of show you how a Mediterranean diet improves the gut microbiome. And this is what I've been talking about: plant-rich foods, healthy fats, olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, nuts, seeds, polyphenol-rich foods, green tea, cocoa is wonderful for you. Fermented foods, fish and seafood makes us healthy. At Arvo this past week, there were some studies presented, and this kind of was quite intriguing to me. Switching mice with fully formed wet macular degeneration to a Mediterranean diet showed in this study near complete lesion resolution. When the mice were switched back to a Western diet, they had continued growth of those bad blood vessels that represent macular degeneration. This is a really big deal. In human data, microbiome shifts with disease severity and macular degeneration, significant gut dysbiosis or bad bugs were found in advanced macular degeneration, but not in intermediate. Patients with macular degeneration showed lower vegetable intake and beneficial short chain fatty acids, which are the wonderful chemicals that good bacteria produce that keep us healthy. Significantly reduced in advanced macular degeneration versus controls. So feeding the good bacteria, helping them produce these wonderful chemicals that keep us healthy, are going to support our retina. We're going to shift gears now, pardon the pun, to talk about mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of the cells, but they also promote cellular resiliency. When we have an energy failure, that's a vision loss risk. The retina is one of the most highly metabolic tissues in the body. It is rich in mitochondria. Macular degeneration is an example of a disease of aging where oxidative stress and chronic inflammation play a central role. AMD is not simply a disease of aging, it's a disease of cellular resiliency. The retina is among the most metabolically active tissues in the body. It is particularly vulnerable to oxidative stress. And macular degeneration, it's not one pathway, it's a convergence. You have mitochondrial bioenergetic insufficiency, lipid oxidation pathology, complement-mediated parainflammation, extracellular matrix aging, impaired metabolic coupling between the RPE and photoreceptors. And guess what? Food and supporting the microbiome and mitochondria all supports all of these pathways together and acts upstream. Again, the retina is part of the brain. It has an extremely high energy demand and is one of the most mitochondria-rich tissues in the body. And again, mitochondria, not just powerhouses of the cells, they're responsible for cellular resiliency. Listen, I know macular degeneration is a multifactorial disease. Many pathways converge and lead to disease. But supporting upstream biology at the cellular level, supporting our mitochondria through diet, minding our gut microbes, better helps us influence the trajectory of disease. Food is a powerful tool to do this. Based on my more than 2 decades in nutrition and functional medicine, I increasingly view AMD as a disease of declining mitochondrial resilience that eventually manifests as retinal degeneration. This is a busy slide. Okay. I made this slide. This is where I'm introducing B vitamins into the mix because B proper mitochondrial functioning, B vitamin sufficiency is paramount. So again, macular degeneration is increasingly recognized not simply as a disease of drusen, but as a disease of metabolic and mitochondrial failure within the retinal pigment epithelium and photoreceptors. Again, the retina is one of the most metabolically active tissues in the body, making it highly vulnerable to oxidative stress, impaired energy production, and mitochondrial damage. Once mitochondrial dysfunction begins, a self-perpetuating vicious cycle develops. Oxidative stress damages mitochondria. Damaged mitochondria generate more reactive oxygen species, and cellular energy production progressively declines. Then you have impaired mitophagy and autophagy, and they reduce the cell's ability to clear damaged mitochondria and toxic debris, contributing to lipofuscin accumulation and drusen. And then you have chronic parainflammation, complement activation, microvascular dysfunction, further compromising and elevated homocysteine, which has been shown to lead to retinal damage. Elevated homocysteine amplifies this cycle through endothelial dysfunction, oxidative stress, and impaired choroidal perfusion, linking vascular health to retinal degeneration. B vitamins, vitamins B6, B9, B12 serve as critical metabolic cofactors that support one carbon metabolism, methylation, mitochondrial enzyme functioning, and homocysteine regulation. So this model helps explain why macular degeneration is biologically heterogeneous and why earlier intervention aimed at improving mitochondrial resilience and metabolic health may help influence disease trajectory before irreversible structural damage occurs. So again, drivers of macular degeneration, oxidative stress, inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, and vascular compromise. Homocysteine is a marker of vascular stress. It's linked to AMD risk, and it's modifiable. And this is where the conversation on B vitamins comes in. I want to do a spotlight on homocysteine. Homocysteine is a byproduct of the metabolism of proteins and DNA. Elevated homocysteine levels result in cell and tissue damage, increased levels of oxidative stress, and endothelial damage, and is related to higher risk of cardiovascular disease, kidney and neurodegenerative damage, and age-related macular degeneration. Insufficient levels of B vitamins have been shown to result in elevated levels of macular degeneration. So B vitamin supplementation may matter in early AMD, and I'm going to touch on more of this and take a deeper dive into a lot of the talk now around other supplements other than AREDS2 that we can use for a macular degeneration patient. Studies show a correlation between B vitamin deficiency and macular degeneration. Homocysteine levels are associated with increased early AMD risk and faster disease progression. And targeting homocysteine in early AMD provides an opportunity to intervene at an upstream biological level. And again, I'm going to take a deeper dive into all of this on June 10th, part 2 of this lecture, and I hope you'll join me there. I have to look at my clock, my watch here to be mindful. So I love music. I love listening to music. I'm not a very good guitar player, but my whole family though is musically inclined. Um, One of my sons graduated from Berklee College of Music, and we all, the rest of them everyone plays an instrument. Um, Nutrients act synergistically like a symphony. So nutrition does not work like a solo performance. It works like a symphony. Each nutrient plays a different instrument. And when they work together in harmony, the protective effects are far greater than any one nutrient alone. Macular degeneration is not caused by a deficiency of one nutrient. It's the cumulative consequence of oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, inflammation, vascular compromise, and aging biology. This is why nutritional patterns outperform reductionist thinking. The retina responds best to nutritional harmony, not nutritional isolation. So Aris taught us that nutrients matter greatly. Modern nutrition science is teaching us that nutrient interactions may matter even more. So I did this little kind of correlation, the retinal symphony. You have the carotenoids, which are the beautiful yellow and red colors in our fruits and vegetables. And in nature, and I look at the carotenoids and I think of the violins. They filter blue light and quench oxidative stress. They provide structural and antioxidant protection. They concentrate in the macula. They help stabilize photoreceptor environments. But violins alone do not make a symphony. What about omega 3s? They're percussion and rhythm. So when I think about omega 3s, I think of the beautiful fatty fish that they provide membrane fluidity. They help regulate inflammation. DHA is a major structural fat in photoreceptors. It supports synaptic signaling and helps maintain retinal cell membrane integrity. But without rhythm, the orchestra loses coordination. And again, the data is really strong. Fatty fish twice a week, so incredibly important in macular degeneration, in brain health, in retina health, in cardiovascular health. It's the fish itself. Um, Zinc and trace minerals, that's the brass section. They act as enzymatic cofactors. Zinc supports antioxidant systems, supports vitamin A transport and retinal metabolism, helps stabilize oxidative defense pathways, and the music becomes weak without support from the brass. B vitamins. They are the piano and energy core. They support mitochondrial bioenergetics and vascular health. B6, folate, B12 regulate homocysteine, support methylation and ATP production, help maintain microvascular perfusion. And without energy, the orchestra can't perform. So, who is the conductor? The polyphenols and the Mediterranean diet components. These dietary patterns coordinate the entire inflammatory environment. Olive oil, polyphenols, colorful fruits and vegetables, legumes, fish, nuts, and herbs. These beautiful plants and fish, nuts, herbs um, create retinal harmony. The Mediterranean diet is powerful because it delivers networks of interacting nutrients, not isolated compounds. And again, individual instruments alone, you get a weak sound, but the full orchestra together, you get a powerful symphony. Whole dietary patterns matter. Mediterranean diets outperform isolated supplementation. And supplementation is important, but you can't supplement your way out of a good diet. Upstream nutrition is multifactorial. AMD biology is systems biology. Okay, I've got about another 10 minutes before questions start, and then we're going to have to cut the lecture short and kind of to be continued June 10th. But carotenoids are so incredibly important. I just want to touch on them a little bit, and then fatty fish. The carotenoids, lutein and zeaxanthin, and then mesozeaxanthin, which is formed from lutein in the retina, macular pigment, blue light protection. So there's about 700 different carotenoids in nature, and of those 700, about 50 end up in our diet. And of those 50 beautiful colors in our diet, about 20 end up in our serum. And of those 20 in our serum, the eye and the brain grab onto two preferentially, lutein and zeaxanthin. Um, and they act as supports for our retina and our brain. So lutein, zeaxanthin, mesozeaxanthin, and I'm going to add one, astaxanthin, are naturally occurring pigments found in most fruits and vegetables, plants, algae, and photosynthetic bacteria. Humans, we cannot make carotenoids. We cannot make lutein and zeaxanthin. We have to get them from diet. Um, Lutein and zeaxanthin are the only dietary carotenoids that accumulate in the retina, specifically the macula, and are called macular pigments. And again, mesozeaxanthin is formed from lutein in the retina. So adequate amounts of lutein, super important for meso as well. Macular pigment density decreases with age. It makes them an important part of our defense against oxidative stress and harmful blue light from screens. Again, macular pigment, lutein, zeaxanthin, most abundant in the green leafy vegetables, kale, spinach, Swiss chard, mustard greens, turnip greens. So lutein and zeaxanthin important. I want to highlight another one that is actually in a study giving you the why behind it. Astaxanthin. It's been established as one of nature's most potent antioxidants, not really found in our diet much, but it does truly support the retina. It does have the ability to accumulate in the eye. Why do we need to supplement? Supplements are important. Um, it's because our food is different now than it was 20 years ago. In the US, 100 grams of spinach contained 6.202 milligrams of lutein and zeaxanthin in a 2020 analysis compared to almost double that in 2002. So again, our fruits and vegetables are not as rich as they used to be. Omega 3s. And so the two things I talk to every patient I see about when I talk about retinal health, green leafy vegetables for lutein and zeaxanthin, and then fatty fish for omega 3s. And all of us have heard about omega 3s. And why do we talk about them? So, study finds most US adults and children have low blood serum levels of omega 3s. Two-thirds of US adults and 95% of US children don't consume enough omega 3s in their daily diet to meet their nutritional needs. Essential omega 3s reduce inflammation in the body and prevent disease. Listen, it's not just macular degeneration, chronic dry eye disease, front of the eye, is a disease also associated with low levels of omega 3s. The omega 3 index, which is a red blood cell measure of levels of omega 3 in the body, has been shown to be as strong a predictor of early death as smoking. Harvard studies have shown us that eating 2 servings of fatty fish per week reduces the risk of dying from heart disease by 36%. Heart disease is the number one killer of Americans. So again, not eating enough seafood is now considered one of the 6 top preventable causes of death. And it's the fatty fish in the studies across the board, the fatty fish at least twice a week across the board, supportive for retina, for brain, for heart. Data on the fish oil supplements it is kind of scattered. It's inconsistent. I've been prescribing fish oil supplements for years. Quality matters, but the data in the scientific literature inconsistent. But the fish itself, consistent benefit across the board. Quality matters when we're talking about fish oil supplementation. A colleague of mine in nutrition published this. Her lab at George Washington University studied 72 over-the-counter omega-3 supplements. Most were found to be oxidized or rancid. 68% of the flavored and 13% of the unflavored exceeded the TOTOX limit for rancidity. And so this is something to consider. I am a huge proponent of the fish itself. I just want to put this in here. This was really important. This is a post hoc analysis of the age-related eye disease studied. And I'm putting this in here because it talks a lot about fish. Recently published in Ophthalmology and presented at ARVO May 2021. The main aim of the study was to use data from the AREDS and AREDS2 to examine potential associations between the dietary intake of multiple nutrients and progression to late AMD. Median follow-up period was 10 years with over 14,000 eyes studied. And I'm going to talk more about this June 10th. Showed decreased risk for macular degeneration, fatty fish, and then the increased risk. But what it says about fish is what I really want to highlight. What the data showed about eating a Mediterranean type diet. Eating a Mediterranean type diet, particularly a lot of fish, may be beneficial for those with early or even intermediate age-related macular degeneration. A diet high in fish can reduce the chances of developing late AMD by 65% for patients who also have protective genes. 65%. In the general AMD population, a high fish diet reduced progression of intermediate macular degeneration with bilateral large drusen to geographic atrophy by 31%. High adherence to a Mediterranean diet reduced progression from intermediate to late macular degeneration with geographic atrophy or neovascularization by 25 to 40%. We should be screaming this from the rooftops. I do. I try to scream it from the rooftops. Fatty fish twice a week. And when I talk about fatty fish, smash is something that is easy to remember. These are low mercury fish, salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. this brilliant ophthalmology professor with Yale reached out to me on social media, on LinkedIn, and asked me, my questions about fatty fish and different types of fish. I always talk about lower mercury fish, and he made a good point with me. He said, selenium is a wonderful way to detoxify mercury. So have your patients, basically eat the fish they want to eat. Eat fish. One Brazil nut a day. One Brazil nut a day is all the selenium you need. I don't want you eating a handful. One Brazil nut a day is all the selenium you need. So if you want to eat a different type of fish, eat your one Brazil nut a day, and that's kind of going to mitigate the risk, hopefully. So I'm going to skip ahead because I know we're running out of time. Um, and I'm going to dive into all this other stuff. Actually, let me just stop for a second. Um, So again, key nutrient pillars, antioxidants, carotenoids, omega-3, and the B vitamins are emerging evidence. And this is what we're going to take a deep dive into June 10th. But again, B vitamins are integral to many aspects of ocular health, mitochondrial dysfunction, oxidative stress, homocysteine homeostasis, neurotropic effects, and retinal protection. Again, upstream care. We want to address the root causes. We want to support metabolism. We want to improve resilience. And food is a powerful way to do that. Nutrition is information. Nutrition is love. Nutrition signals cells, impacts inflammation, and affects gene expression. And again, whole foods, healthy fats, it's all evidence-based. And today we know that a Mediterranean diet offers good health and longevity. High Mediterranean diet in the literature associated with less progression to late AMD by 25 to 40%. We should be screaming this from the rooftops. Higher adherence to the Mediterranean diet was associated with a 41% reduced risk of incident advanced macular degeneration. Mediterranean diet is rich in vitamins, reduces heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, reduces the risk of macular degeneration and cataracts. And I'm going to talk more about this one particular study on June 10th, but I think it's powerful. The interplay of genetic predisposition, plasma metabolome, and Mediterranean diet in dementia risk and cognitive function. The patients that benefited the most from the Mediterranean diet were those with the strongest genetic vulnerability, the ApoE4 carriers. And that's powerful. This is an argument telling patients, don't say, hey, I've got genes. Genes are not always destiny. I like to tell my patients, genes may load the gun, but our environment determines whether that trigger is pulled. And so I thought this was a brilliant study to illustrate that. It was actually just published in Nature Medicine in 2025. So again, Mediterranean diets pyramid. We know this. We can look this up. Foods for eye health, leafy greens, colorful vegetables, fatty fish, eggs, nuts, and seeds. And eggs, the beautiful yellow center of an egg is rich in bioavailable carotenoids. Farm raised eggs are always best. Um, Easy addition to our diets. So daily plan, eat greens every day, fish at least twice weekly, support our gut by eating the rainbow, and that supports our mitochondria. And then use targeted supplements. And again, we're going to take a deeper dive into the supplements June 10th. Okay, so I could have just put this one slide up and then been done with the lecture. This is my principle, the KISS principle. Well, this is my recommendation for healthy eating. When I was a little girl, my mom was fond of the KISS principle. Keep it simple. Keep it super simple. And things we have to keep things simple. Eat the rainbow. Much of your plate should be colorful fruits and vegetables. Eat fatty fish at least twice a week, and olive oils and nuts should be mainstay. Let food be your medicine. Nutrients act synergistically. And I love this quote. When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. Foods interact, work synergistically. These are my two boys. These are the reason, these people in the boat are the reason I'm here talking to you today. And every time you eat or drink, you're either feeding disease or fighting it. And listen, nutrition science is evolving. I love this Mark Twain quote, it ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. So again, follow those who seek the truth. Flee from those who found it. We're entering a new frontier of our understanding of wellness and how to optimize health. And what's emerging is that no single food or nutrient is a golden ticket, with maybe the exception of fatty fish, but rather it's the sum of all the parts, the cumulative effect of what we eat. It's the patterns of health. So I know I went a little over my time, so I do apologize, but we'll continue on June 10th. So, so we
All right,
have
thank you
some.
so much, Dr. Poteet. We have some questions in the Q&A tab if you want to open that up. And if you can just start at the top and we'll remove them as you go so that everyone, and Leah Baird, you just raised your hand. We will not be calling on you. You have to put it in the Q&A section. So I just wanted to remind everyone, got to be in the Q&A section because we cannot call on anyone. We don't allow voice interaction other than those who are our panelists. So please put it in the Q&A, and Dr. Poteet, please start at the top and we will remove those
Sure,
questions as you go.
sure. So if I take an AREDS 2, should I one, switch to AREDS 3, or be careful about taking a multivitamin that includes some of the AREDS ingredients. So I'm going to take a deeper dive into this June 10th. I will say in the AREDS 2 trials, 85% of the people were already taking a Centrum Silver. So they were also taking a multivitamin in the AREDS 2 trials that showed a reduction of about 25% from intermediate to advanced AMD. So that's one thing to consider. And then we'll take a deeper dive into that. Do you need to see a nutritionist, or is there a special eye care professional that can help? I am a firm believer in always running things through your primary care doctor. There are organizations like the Ocular Wellness and Nutrition Society that has a wealth of information, and it has a doctor link to eye care practitioners that are certified in nutrition. Um, when was it determined that the gut had an effect on our eye health? Depends on who you ask. The gut brain connection, which is gut eyes, has been around for a while now. Um, if you already have eye disease, well, this type of food helps stop the progression of the disease. I tell every patient I see, my goal is to help you maintain the vision that you have. It is never too late to start. It's not going to cure you, but my goal is to maintain the vision that you have. Um, how will this information help with your overall health? Supporting the retina, supporting the brain, you will feel better overall. Supports the whole health. The Mediterranean diet in the literature is consistently recommended for overall body health. Um, okay, so I have read that omega 3s and the cholesterol they provide are a problem, making macular degeneration worse. I have the article, but don't remember all the details. Do you know anything regarding this? I take a lot of omega 3s, and for the first time in my life, so, what I recommend to patients, the fatty fish itself, it's delivered a little differently. The type of omega 3 you take matters, but the fatty fish itself consistently across the board for heart, for brain, for eyes. My LDLs were considered high. Then I would switch to the fatty fish, and I would stick not do the fish oil. But again, I would consult your physician. Um, uh, um, we're going to dive into supplements. And again, another question, which is best AREDS to or MacuHealth. I'm not going to comment on any particular brand. I just have to comment on the science. And we're going to dive deeper into that June 10th. Um, Trish Briggs, are more than 2 servings of fatty fish okay? Absolutely. 2 servings are the minimum. If you wanted to eat fatty fish every day, that's totally fine. Um, and I think Carol, how many bees? And we're going to dive into that. We're going to take a deeper dive on June 10th. Is buying organic veggies worth it? Yes, if you can on multiple levels. I want you to eat vegetables, and if all you can afford is non-organic, then buy them. But organic's always better for a few reasons. Obviously, it's the less pesticides, but the non-obvious reason is when we bombard plants with pesticides, we're protecting the plant for them. Beautiful polyphenols and antioxidants and things that make fruits and vegetables so wonderful for us come from that plant trying to protect itself. Organic fruits and vegetables have more taste, have more flavor, because they've had to mount their own defense. And when they do, these beautiful health promoting things are created. So again, from a nutrition standpoint, organic is always better. Um, Thank you for saying I need more. This is a great lecture. Please join me June 10th. Will we be able to access this information after the program? It hopefully will be posted on the Macular Degeneration Association website. So
I can comment on that. Yeah, the program is being recorded, so everything on here will be edited and then put up on the website shortly.
thank you. I wish my retinal specialist was like you. I have to give a shout out to our brilliant retinal specialists. They see so many patients in a day, and oftentimes they don't have time to get into the deep dive here. But I'm hoping that we can all become more coordinated in our efforts to spread this information.
As far as
Thank
the
you.
time on the June 10th program, that is TBD. So keep up on the website, and we will have that posted as to the specific time. Last chance to ask a question. Anyone else want to get something in on the Q&A panel? Going once. Oh, got one more. No, will I receive an email? You will receive an email if you are signed up for receiving updates about that. You would need to talk to Donna about that specifically. So if you call in or write an email to Donna, which is anyone at the contact us on our website, they will be able to answer that for you. All right, Dr. Poteet, we thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to give us a little bit of education on our nutrition, and we look forward to your June 10th secondary half.
Thank you so much. I
All
appreciate
right,
it.
everyone, we hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you the next time.
Thanks.